Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today I'm bringing you a game that just happened to play a couple of days ago. It was an absolute banger, and I knew almost immediately that I was going to have to cast it. I already had another one lined up. It's still sitting in my replays to-do folder. But this one absolutely took the cake because it ended up being a fabulous match between some high-level players, some of the absolute top tiers you might run into out on the ladder, as this was a bit of a late-night game from people all around the world. So without further ado, let's meet our teams here as we spawn on the southern side of Whitefire Remake as the Blue Armada Commander, not Cortex. It's going to be Snoopa. Snoopa of the Hello Clan at 41 open skill and going to be showing us what they've got going into some of those good old-fashioned Armada bots. A very popular choice on the ladder out here today. And spawning on the other side is our red team leader and doing some shenanigans as Cortex in red. It's going to be Lord Dot going for some good old-fashioned bots as well. Playing in the backline right now and going to be playing right behind yours truly. Yeah, so this was a match that I played, it was pretty late at night. I was a little bit craving some Beyond a Reason, loaded up the game and found this very OP lobby with a bunch of big names playing all at the same time. So I felt it would be a wonderful time to, you know, stretch the muscles, right? Go for a little bit of a practice run. Already sending a couple of ticks across. Pretty proud to see that I was the first one to send ticks across. Always feels good. Key scouting right here, of course, is that the enemy will be building their base on this low ground, right? So there's not a lot I can do to harass this with the ticks, so running them by and trying to find some metal extractors is the necessary move. However, of course, just seeing that this lab is down here means that I know that there's, at the very least, going to be something produced on the low ground here. You can see we're going for constructors and whatnot. Super, super annoying to have to deal with later on, but at least for the time being, all is well for the front line. It means that that lab comes up a little slower. Idle ticks in the back line. Ooh. Ticks on the right-hand side cleaned up by the green commander. That's a nice catch there from Akula XD. Meanwhile, these ticks do make it into the back. They're going to find the powder blue commander, rather, Zydeca, and blast those metal extractors down immediately. Oh, and there he goes. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this is because I didn't know exactly when this was going to happen. Zydeca types lol in the chat and leaves immediately. For shame on Zydeca here for absolutely throwing out of the, or tapping out of the match immediately as soon as he's hit the back line. But there we go. Mechs do go down. Three of the metal extractors go down. The ticks don't kill the fourth. And there we go. It looks like it'll be cleaned up by the grunts. Nicely done. There we are. That's the powder blue commander completely knocked out of the game as they throw in the towel here. We do have a resbot sent to go resurrect all those, so that's quite nice. Gonna save a bunch of metal. We've already got everybody pointing this out as we speak. I am Legion setting up a bulwark front line here, though, with a whole bunch of grunts manning the defenses to make sure that no more of these ticks can go through to harass. Right-hand side remains uncontested, and we still have some very cheeky plays right here. As you can well see, watch me do this. Has a transport, a heavy transport built on the high ground right here. Ooh, just trying to move forward with it. Fighter plane, very, very risky right here. Yeah, Commander trying to repair it back up to running. I had some bad ideas myself. I said just walk. Just watch me do this. Decided to listen to me for some reason. Bad idea, genuinely. Trying to send in the troops to distract and dissuade. Heavy transport gets shot out of the sky. Watch me do this. Obviously moving in for the D-gun on the laboratory. LLT coming up right here, and a bunch of thugs are available as well. Watch me do this. Low on energy at the moment. Myself as well, super low on energy. Watch me do this, going in for the kill right here. Completely surrounded by the grunts and the thugs and all the rest of it. Boom goes the yellow commander without being able to fire the D-gun. Now, I gotta commend the funny strategies, right? Sometimes you gotta risk it, because if that had killed this laboratory right here, there's no more metal in the bank for I Am Legion. So effectively, if that commander had killed this laboratory and killed the metal extractor, and I mean, best case scenario, gotten out of here, but even worst case scenario, had just died and killed all this, it still would have been a pretty good trade, because it would have taken a long time in order for all this metal to get cleaned up. But it's not the case. Not the case at all, and these thugs are heroes over here. Meanwhile, by the way, double kill on this side as the Powder Commander and the Taken Commander of the Powder Blue Commander, now also the Lavender Commander, Bald XD, dancing around these rocket projectiles, trying to harvest some metal, but also risking it all as the Rocketeers fire away. Yeah, the closer they get, the more accurate they are as they fire into the distance here. Ooh, this is the dangerous, dangerous dance. Whittling down that commander one blast at a time. Eventually the HLT will start up here, and some grunts to push all this away. Centurion out on the front to help a whole bunch with all that, of course. but Bald XD will manage to reclaim a whole bunch of this metal. Fight War moving into position over here on this side as well. Very, very nice. Centurion not quite at the front of this army. Fight War taking some hits here. Starting to run quite low. Resbot to eat up all the metal right there. D-gun? D-gun? Nice D-gun right there. Denies about 500, 600 of the metal right there out of that corpse. Means that a lot of it does end up going back to the Lavender Commander, not so much back to the Tan. That was about one commander in total that was eaten right there by Bald XD, of course sacrificing a huge chunk of the HP. Oh, D-guns from Fight War are brutal right there as all the rocket bots go down. Centurions could have been kiting against this. Oh, there we go. Centurion going to start blasting away. About 1% per shot right there for the Centurion. 2 or 3 Centurion can whittle down a commander extremely fast, though, so you have to be very, very careful. 1 on the front line, though, isn't in and of itself the most dangerous thing ever. LLT is being set up all in the middle by myself, and I have a whole bunch of pawns coming through. This was a very infantry-heavy game, as you can see. Pawns running in to try and harass down this LLT and push this radar tower over here, try and keep the blue player blind, and then, of course, move into the base. So we find this metal extractor. We are going to continue pushing it, but also we see the, construction turret there. Yep. Easy targeting on the construction turret to make sure that that goes down, and these will all sneak on by. When you see a commander leave like that, odds are the team isn't really going to be paying attention to their lane. Not really. Pawns making it through into the back line. We do have an air player, but it's an Armada air player, so no shurikens or anything like that. Pawns still moving into the back line, finding some juicy, juicy run-bys. Fellas, if you're looking for, ladies and fellas, if you're looking for a tip for Beyond No Reason, the best thing you can do to improve your game, get really comfortable with sending some units around on little run-bys. Run them past a bunch of metal extractors like this, find open areas, and continue to harass them constantly, and you're going to end up in a great spot, just like this. Taking these metal extractors down for a second time, knocking out about, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 metal per second right here from the blue team. Another metal extractor down, call it 16 metal per second. Hero Pawn makes it in the back line. LLT will clean it up, though. 2 more moving in this direction. Now we have the Banshee in the air to fire away here. Gunslinger also out, and will manage to mop these up before they can do hardly any more damage. Run by cleaned up, and for the time being, it also means that this backliner is hurting quite badly, because a lot of those mexes were handed over there to Azil, and eventually it kind of starts to wane on the economy, right? I mean, after so many minutes of eco going down. Oh, my commander exploded, by the way. Frontline from I Am Legion, devastating me. Resbot shared by a teammate is absolutely peak. I mean, fabulous gaming right there as we use share the Resbot to build a bunch more units. Diving in on I Am Legion, didn't realize this commander was full HP, so we'll be able to tank the brunt majority of the pawns diving in, but obviously we also trade out for a bunch of HP there. I Am Legion down to just 51, 52% HP. Resbot will be forced off the line here as about 300, 400 metal is left in the corpse, but enough has been salvaged here to start producing some higher tier units. So a bunch of maces coming up, and we're ready to start the aggression. Now, this is looking quite dangerous. We do have a bunch of Rocketeers. We actually have a Resbot somehow making it past the line and into the back. That'll be blasted down by Lord Dot here. Walls blocking the area right now for poor Snoopa, who wants to keep pushing with these forces, but there just isn't a way to. Oh, fighters are pulled to kill the aircon, yeah. It's pretty tricky, right? I mean, when you spawn with that air, lose your commander, there's not a lot else you can do, but nicely done by Watch Me Do This, otherwise known as Watch Me Clap This, who manages to get the bot lab up in time just before the cons die so that there is a way out of this. We can go back to building more units, and the commander will be shared over here as well. Now, a risky but early T2 has been set up right here by the orange commander, who's going to start pumping out some Fat Boys, trying to get one of those out to the front line. The Fat Boy has, in effect, taken place as the Tsar equivalent for Armada. Kind of fills the same role, but quite a bit cheaper here at 1,400 metal. I believe the Tsar is nearly 2,000. Could be wrong about that, though. I'm actually not 100% certain. No core vehicle plates here either, so we are not going to find the answer today. Somebody in the comment section, there's usually one guy who has a very on top of it comment to point out exactly which one is which. Rocketbots fighting over the corpse over here. Meanwhile, the Gunslinger reinforcing this army is super dangerous. As you can see, it blasts away those units without leaving much for a corpse. Rocketbots firing in every which direction. I mean, really Hail Marying those rockets up into the air. It means that we have a big issue on our hands here. A bunch of E-converters being set up as well. I had essentially abandoned any plans of scaling the eco at this point. Still waiting on a T2 constructor from a teammate. So for the time being, just building whatever T1 I can in order to shut this down, and this is mostly a bunch of rocket bots with some gunslinger support. Sounds like a wonderful army for pawns to counter, in my opinion. STL getting pushed right here. Rocket bots are firing away and hurting a whole bunch of this there. Those gunslingers don't really care about too much of that. STL, ooh, very low. Boom, goes the Maroon Commander as well, right in the middle of the entire army. A brutal engagement right there. A bunch of ticks to support all this. Ticks actually complement maces really nicely because they can get behind the maces, triggering that flanking damage, meaning that your maces do way more damage than the thugs do. Otherwise, on a one-to-one basis, the thugs absolutely sweep the field here. Nice D-guns from Watch Me do this, though. And now we've got a lovely wreck field to reclaim from. 800 or so metal going to be eaten up right here by myself and Watch Me do this as the blue and green commanders share the bounty. That is the spoils of war here from the green commander. Or the maroon commander, rather. Brightworks does colors. No target firing from the thugs right here. I believe I'm, targeting with the maces is important to do. If you target fire with them, they will trade out a little bit better. Not massively, but enough that it makes a difference here. You can see 4 or 5 dead thugs. Just 2 or 3 dead maces. Resbot, of course, to eat up all this wreckage. Early Resbot can make all the difference. Important to keep those alive. And the T2 Fat Boy is here to stay. Now this is effectively an Armada spin on the Tsar Rush, so we also have the radar and radar jammer right here to fire away as that guy flings globules across the map to devastate this, well, T1 army or anything else really that gets in its way, even T2. We get some of the softer T2 like Hounds and Sprinters, Jaguars, all that kind of stuff. We do have T2 coming out of the labs right here from the Maroon Commander. Front line still being maintained, and it looks like we have a growing economy in the back line here for Lord Dot. Going to be scaling up that eco and actually going for a fusion reactor first. Meanwhile, T2 continuing to grow all in the back line here as well, as we do have those T2 cons heading around. Trying to get those T2 economies up and running. Watch Me Do This also goes down. Those gunslingers are perfect for hunting down commanders. They just have just enough range and gain so much experience from fighting commanders that they get way more powerful every time that they do. Couple of Hounds built up in the front here is quite nice, though, and with the radar and radar jammer, they can be really, really effective at range without necessarily having to actually take any damage from any of these units. There's a heavy projectile. Boom! As the Fat Boy 4 Fight War does now march out to the field. We also have the agitator set up right here. Loads and loads of walls being used. Really cool, actually, to see the walls being used. One of those things that I feel like for the longest time has just been kind of criminally underdeveloped. That was the gunslingers actually being overwhelmed by a bunch of grunts. Pawns, rather. A huge catch if there ever was one. Snoop in a little bit of trouble, actually. Kind of caught out in the open. I can't help but wonder if maybe those pawns might have been able to, instead of focusing on the Resbots, try and snag a kill on that commander. The time has come. I am Legion, standing right next to a bunch of juicy units. Seems like a good target to me. Boom goes the Scion Commander, detonated right on the front line. Still a couple of maces available. Probably best micro there would have been to pull about half of that army back and let the rest of them try and kill that commander. But I was happy to take the trade and blow up this commander just for that 1,000 metal or so. Resbot, I believe, was already stolen at one point, or already killed at one point, so the Webbers here are going to reclaim this, but I don't mind that. Maroon Commander has already taken some losses on my front as well, so letting your teammates eat up the wreckage here is not a bad trade, not a bad thing to do whatsoever. LLT is on the front line here, blasting these apart with the good old-fashioned T1 maces, just using anything and everything possible to bring all this down. T1 Constructor will go down here as well. Very little wreckage remaining, but a whole bunch of metal sent back to my teammates. Still waiting on a T2. Always difficult, right? To wonder whether you should really be paying for T2 on the front line if you're battling it out. And you can see I've virtually got no metal in the bank, as I do just basically spend all my metal on producing a whole bunch of ticks and some wind turbines in the back as well. Difficult to know, right? Should I be paying for T2? Should I just be saving up for T2? Best strategy is always going to be going for T2. By the way, giant push over on this side. Best strategy is always going to be buying a T2 from your teammate if they have T2 up and running, because it's way cheaper to pay for that than pay for the whole T2 laboratory just to get the constructor. Mauser's here looking quite nice. Fat Boy here doing a great job too. We have the blue Fat Boy in a transport. Heavy transport to move that bad boy around. Okay. Wonder if we couldn't go drop that on top of a bunch of T1 units all over the place. Maybe find some value that way. Fat Boy not really keeping its head on a swivel. Will it shoot its own toes? Nope. Look at that, they've caught it.
Has died.
They caught the Fat Boy. I've never seen that before. D got away and Rumble Crush will get it. What a funny play. Rumble Crush with the full surround manages to kill the Fat Boy by simply pinning it in place. Why does the Fat Boy's gigantic feet not crush those rascals? A question I'll never know the whole answer to. Fat Boy over here as well is a definite issue. Starting to take some serious damage from those hounds, of course, as you can see me microing away, trying to split up all of these maces so they don't take much damage. And down goes the Fat Boy. Ooh, sinking a beautiful shot into all those hounds, but already they blasted the rest of that wreckage down, or the rest of that Fat Boy down, so it doesn't matter too much. Mace is pushing on this side and a giant counterattack on the right now. As the Fat Boy goes down, and there's not a lot left here to defend this, we do have a Rattlesnake and a Gauntlet firing away. It's going to do a bunch of damage at range, or at the very least chip away at a bunch of these units for a long time at range. Fat Boy forced into the retreat. Thugs and Aggravators in tow. Still taking damage from that Rattlesnake. That is, I mean, basically the major superpower of the Rattlesnake. It can just hit you from so far away. Somehow a single metal extractor has stayed alive, but not for long. Thugs with their beautiful little march now making their way back home. The right-hand side has been cleaned up entirely. Very nice. T2 Vehicle Lab is up on the middle of the map right here. For the blue commander who's gone ahead and paid for that T2, gotten the Mauser out on the field, and now things are looking a little bit scary. Obviously, Mauser represent a turning point in the match where you suddenly have to deal with higher range, higher damage, all that sort of stuff. Green Fat Boy apparently going down and now being reclaimed by the Tank Commander. Don't mind that at all. Bunch of E-Converters set up here as well. Fusion Reactor already up and running. Tank Commander looking good. Dr. Sen, that is. Fat Boy handed to me for some reason. Not entirely sure. I think that might have been a misclick. Fiends deciding to pull the trigger here, though. I believe the T2 had been scouted. Yeah, T2 Laboratory scouted, as well as the Commander over here. And there we go. Commander cloaked, but surrounded by Fiends. Not going to last for too long at all. Boom goes the blue Commander. Fiends making it past into the back line, and they do manage to find the T2 Lab. Nice self-D right there. Doesn't manage to take out the Laboratory, but the self-destruct will blow up some of those construction turrets. And, of course, with that Commander going down, it means the potential for D-guns is also reduced quite a bit. It was at this point that T2 had been handed over, so I'm effectively just waiting in order to get those T2 up and running. As you can see, my eco is nothing to really brag home about. It is not much at all. A couple of Twilights coming up here as well, are queued up here. Fiends continuing to push in, but the Lightning Tanks are just barely enough to keep all this together. And all that metal on the ground looks like proper reclaim here for the blue comm. It's going to start rebuilding the billet power, but should definitely be reclaiming all that as well. Lightning turrets on the high ground here, though. Going to be pretty difficult for anybody to push into. The vehicles obviously slow down a bunch when they go up that hill, meaning that they become a super vulnerable target. And the lightning blast that jumps out of those lightning turrets, the Dragon's Claws, chain reacts into other enemies there too, so all the ticks will be shot down quite nicely as well. Man, making very, very short work of those Jaguar tanks. I heard sharpshooters on the front line somewhere here. Whole bunch of Sheldons being built up over on the left-hand side as this Fat Boy starts to whittle down a bunch of T1 static defenses, actually. Ticks looking for the right method of engagement. They will find it. Just jumping in between all of these Sheldon here and making it very, very awkward to do anything. Persecutor now up on the front here, though, and in fact, it can actually reach all the way out to the T2 lab, even of the Tank Commander over on the front line there. Very, very nicely done. T2 coming up and running in the back line, by the way. Send this guy out as well. Finally getting our T2 upgrade, meaning our economy is about to quadruple, right in time for the lightning tanks that have already hit the field to hit our front line. Now we hit a little bit of a lull. T2 units starting to push forward, just doing a little bit of damage. T3 already out and running here for the Orange Commander, who's had a fabulous early game right here. I don't know how much of this was reclaimed, though. I didn't see any res bots behind all of this, and that looks pretty cobbled together. So I'm hazarding a guess that a lot of this was rebuilt, resurrected. Ultimately, if that metal stays on that side of the map, it's only about a 30% loss. That is the big issue. Another Razorback is up and running, though, and 2 Razorbacks can be effectively enough to push into even some of the most well-fortified zones. Fat Boy on this side does shoot at its own toes to clear away the Fiend. Starlights and company here, though, are going to be quite nice as well. Protected by radar jammer, the only thing that really can counter a Starlight is air. And, of course, faster mobile units. Fiends, of course, being a prime example of that, as now the Starlight is overextended, out of position, and will go down. Its explosion killing a bunch of those Fiends as well. Sheldon firing away. Chipping at the plating. Now we've got major economy scaling happening in the backline right here, as we do have, actually, oh, I forgot to enable our little... Oh, it's not coming on. Whoops. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to pause the game and show you something really quick. In case you didn't know about your widgets menu, it's in this menu right here. You can see all of these. The RML starter. I'm not seeing... Oh, okay. Oh, Professional Caster 101. That's how you enable widgets, by the way, in case you have custom widgets that you'd like to turn on. Apparently. You need to have a look at that one. Maybe it's not working properly. There are new versions of widgets coming out all the time, and of course, Beyond Horizon updates almost daily. So there's a lot of reasons that widgets can break, even in between, like, you know, one game and another. Ooh, sharpshooter right there. Discovered on the front line here. A bunch of ticks just running by to try and find some information. This is sometimes a really viable move as an Armada player. Once all the LLTs go down, just sending a bunch of ticks through, a lot of times these can find ridiculous value, because you don't always know that realize that your LLTs have died until they're effectively not killing things. These ones, however, have run entirely out of APM. Hero Red Razorback to blast apart all the T1 over here. Well, T1 and T2. Razorback's, of course, quite good at dealing with tick spam and other spam, but also beefy enough and do enough damage to actually clean up most of this all on its own. Mausers will melt, Lightning Tank will fall apart here, ticks, of course, no chance. Now that's tons and tons of reclaim. Lovely stuff right here, as now we have the Tan Commander, no, Yellow Commander sending in some res bots to try and resurrect some of that. We still have 2 Razorbacks on this side, and we're actually going for a third right now. No, sorry, 3 Razorbacks, and we're going for a fourth. A couple of Marauder mixed in can be quite nice as essentially a scouting force here as well. You can see that with those T2 metal extractors up and running, the economy is actually looking quite nice. Moving this. This is terrible placement on my behalf. Radar jammer in front of the Rattlesnake severely limits its mobile field of view. Frontline is secure. Starlight's rolling out here. We are now up to 2. Pitbull's in position to deal with some of those slightly heavier units, but the Razorback has made it all the way across into the front. Fusion reactor pops. T2 laboratory goes down. E-storages and metal storages alike going to fall, as well as those T2 metal extractors. Not bad. Another mech goes down. Tick's trying to get the surround here on the Razorback. Fighter is also in trouble. Oh, a self-D. Okay, yeah. Red Commander not confident that this can go anywhere and get much more value, so he's just going to self-destruct it to deny it of the enemy. Honestly, a quite viable move right there. Of course, if that goes down, it's huge, huge damage if it gets resurrected. However, if it stays up and running, sometimes you can get away with it, and it can actually end up being a really powerful force to send in the enemy's direction. Especially if it's a rushed-out T3, like if it's one of the first on the field. Important to remember that the first of the T2 and T3 units will always have the most impact. Massive army of Razorbacks moving forward right here. We have the Tick army to accompany this as well, which is super nice. Provides enough vision that these Razorbacks can fire at their maximum range, and of course also, more importantly, sweeps the way so that commanders can't get underfoot and D-gun all these. In theory, anyways. Not going to help too much here, as one of these will be D-gunned by Rumble Crush. Orange Commander trying to micro against all this. Ooh, another Razorback moving in. D-guns away. Oh, nice dodge.
Commander
Manages to dodge it, and the Razorbacks get a full surround, and down goes the Purple Commander almost immediately. Brilliant stuff right there. Razorbacks now coming out of the Seafoam Green Commander's base. Azeel pumping out those proper T3. That was effectively their tech players, so you can see these are popping up way, way quicker here. Razorbacks coming out in mass. Trying to get a decent surround on the other Razorbacks at the moment, but more and more reinforcements are coming up, and the orange heroes These would probably be well to do to self-destruct as well. Not going to happen, though. And down they go. And again, a beautiful push, but we don't have any res bots with any of this. So all this metal is still lying on the field. This can be resurrected. The Razorbacks can be resurrected. This is comeback material, as one helpful co-commentator has stated. Juno missiles being sent out everywhere to shut down the tick spam. Super annoying if you are planning on tick spam. However, one of the nice things about tick spam is that it's an excellent and extremely cheap option for scouting infinitely. This base, which was shut down by the Razorback here, you can see we're trying to reclaim from. We've got the Webbers now moving in to eat all this up. They're fantastic, really. Tons of HP, and they, of course, do have that little EMP beam to paralyze lighter targets. Fusion reactor should be the primary target. This is the ruin of a T2 lab, so that's quite juicy as well here. But yeah, the other Weber was already shut down. Oh no, it actually still survived. Just barely. Tick swarm coming in. Welders in position to deal with all this, though, is quite nice. Eventually, this will all go down, though, as the Razorbacks get involved. The Webbers actually making it up into the high ground. Okay. Sure, we're going to reclaim one of these. All right. Only a percent or so per second. A couple percent per second here, but we are going to try and reclaim it. All right. Oh, I want to see if this works. That'd be too funny if we actually do manage to capture one of these. We're down to 25%. It is almost exactly a percent per second here. And at this point, a Pitbull on the front line right here, but all of the T2 has gone down. The T2 con, the T1 cons, all that stuff. Pitbull firing away into the distance. Oh no, Razorback coming to ruin the dreams of these Webbers. Oh, they're not going to get away with it, are they? I love the effort. Obviously, paralyzed metal extractor. That's a nice 8 metal per second or so. Not going back to this commander, but unfortunately, not going to be quite enough, I fear. Cyan commander with the Razorbacks here, loitering them around the blue front line. Purple Razorbacks. These all were handed over, by the way. The Seafoam Green commander, Azil, handing out these Razorbacks to the front here. Radar jammers coming up here. Most importantly, the radar jammers are made so that this commander can cloak properly. Oh, Juno missile hits immediately, though, and shuts it down. I can't be the only one that feels like the T2 radar and radar jammers should be immune to the Juno missile. Like, there's really, the only benefit you get from it is that it's ginormous, but I don't know. I mean, maybe there's like a... Maybe instead of being destroyed, they just get turned off for a little while. I feel like there should be some additional benefit to going for a T2. Otherwise, I mean, you may as well just spam a T1 because it's cheaper. Not that it would reach out this far, but you get what I mean. I'm sure it's been discussed dozens and dozens of times over, but one of those things I always think about. Seeing a Juno missile kill a T1 and a T2 exactly the same just doesn't feel right. Razorbacks looks to have been handed over here. Yeah, they've been handed over to the blue commander, Snoopa. Now going to be used in conjunction with the Starlights. It's actually a super powerful force. Everything the Welder can do, the Razorback can do 3 times as well. They're beefier, do more damage, a little bit faster. And effectively, the composition you want is Welder Starlight. So Razorback Starlight, to nobody's surprise, will work phenomenally here. Clearly, scouting these Razorbacks, pushing with the Starlight is a huge issue. A bunch of ticks swarming forward at the same time here just to try and dissuade all those T1 static defenses from pushing in and, of course, provide a bunch of vision. 2 more Razorbacks shared over in this specific spot where no commanders still remain. Red team here, my team, with only 3 commanders remaining. The blue team actually down to just 1 commander, but we only have 3, and they're all in different locations. None of them spared on this ridge. Blue commander hesitant to push in here, wondering whether this is an option. My Rattlesnake firing away to the distance. We do have some gunships up in the air as well. That's quite nice. Razorbacks technically can shoot up at them. They don't do a ton of damage, but they do enough. Much better option here, though, is the Jaguars, which will shoot all these down easily. Rattlesnake doing its good work here at this point, now as it gets to AoE into a whole bunch of these tanks and whatnot. Still, though, not nearly enough to hold this line. The tick spam that I was contributing to the team, of course, not going to be enough to shut down Razorbacks and Jaguars, the effective hard counters to this, and I think I even put something in chat as the base does crumble. Oh yeah, been an honor. The Razorbacks completely wiping my humble abode off the face of the earth with no proper scaling on my end. It was essentially a matter of time. as the Razorbacks completely wipe this section of the map clean. Welders, a whole bunch of pawns. Dragons actually coming out of our Brown Commander's air lab here, firing away with their heavy laser beams, trying to shoot away at the Razorbacks moving in. Fusion reactor popping here, though, for the Maroon Commander. Aphis, obvious target. As those Razorbacks circle around to try and do some more damage. Oh, a slick reclaim from our Maroon Commander. STL manages to eat up the OP Advanced Fusion Reactor just a second before it explodes. What a brilliant save right there from STL. Absolute hero maneuver as that manages to be saved. Of course, that saves all the wreckages around, too, to be resurrected or reclaimed. Basically saves a ton of money for the entire team. Now, despite all that, we actually still maintained an energy lead here. As you can see, the Red Commander's been eco-scaling like crazy, going for a whole bunch of stuff. We have the T2 Air Lab right now and a bunch of APHIS set up. We have the Bulwarks defending all of this, of course. And we have Shurikens being sent out here by the Yellow Commander in order to shut all of this down. Make sure these Razorback don't have any way of really dealing with any of this. Rattlesnake having a grand old time firing into the distance here. One Razorback not getting its value's worth. Looks like almost exactly 3% every time this Rattlesnake does connect with the Razorback. It's not a lot, but it's honest work. Cut that Razorback down from full HP to just 41. This, however, is an issue. T3 Lab set up and starts pumping out units. Karganeth and Shiva going to be the composition of choice, a 2-to-1 ratio, Shiva to Karganeth. I like that quite a lot. Of course, the Shiva are very cheap and easy to build, but they don't on their own provide a lot of specific single target damage. That's where the Karganeth come in, and they can do, well, a lot more of that. Another Razorback paralyzed here, but the fighters have been pulled from the Green Commander. Brown with no response quite yet. While the Shuriken are out, it does mean that this ends up working quite nicely here. We do also have the T1 laboratory up and running now, producing a whole bunch of these Resbots to try and get the T3 up and running. Razorbacks pushing on the left-hand side, halted by the Karganeths and the Shivas firing away with their, of course, missiles and their heat-seeking missiles. Dragons moving in on this angle, trying to find an opportunity. Of course, we know about this base. We know where it all is. Build power, an obvious target, of course, as well as the anti-air. Shutting either of those down helps a lot. However, fighters are inbound. And these are only T1 fighters, so they don't actually do very much against the Dragons. They can actually kind of shoot them down. But even still, I think it will be enough here. Blue Commander comes under fire quite literally. Still, the anti-air is quite thick, and the Dragon will fall. Okay. Reduced to ashes, however, again, the eco-scaling is phenomenal. We've got loads of fusion reactors in the back end. We've got full quadruple APHIS production here for the Red Commander. Eco-scaling looking pretty good over here as well. There was a little bit of damage that came through, and most importantly, destroyed all the build power for the Seafoam Green Commander. So it's just taking a little while to really have much of an effect. That's the APHIS over here finally getting detonated. Giant Sheldon Ball firing away right now. Resbots to resurrect, rebuild, and repair everything around here. Razorbacks, Karganeth, Shiva. Any of these T3 units are well worth investing the energy in. And you can see some of these cheaper ones don't take as much time to resurrect. The Karganeth and the Shiva particularly. Only 2,500 metal compared to the Razorback's 3,800 and 6,800 energy. I believe for resurrection you pay for the energy cost of the unit. So units that cost quite a bit more energy cost, well, they take quite a bit more time to resurrect. It means that Cortex units are actually strangely efficient to resurrect, a little bit more efficient than the Armada ones. An interesting point of balance. Karganeth coming in once more. Shuriken, I mean, coming in once more. Going to paralyze the Razorbacks as best they can. One of them takes a hit. Not a lot of damage goes in on it, though. Bomb this like TF. I agree. Certainly a extremely juicy bombing connection there. What are they called? Sheldon. As per the metal to space ratio, Sheldon are probably one of the highest, most valuable bombing targets. Whoa. Stop that Razorback before it got resurrected. It was 79% of the way done. If you go and resurrect that yourself, if somebody takes over the resurrecting of that, it will be yours. The only point of resurrection that matters is who put the last seal on the program, right? Just a second before it comes back to life. My Pitbull has turned coat, now working for the enemy. The Red Commander spamming units to the field. And this is more or less what you want to do. Oh, we're actually moving the T3 lab. Kind of makes sense. I mean, this lab is kind of in an inopportune position right here as we try and build some more build power to pump out more T3 units. But right now, the real heroes, the unsung heroes of this match have got to be these Resbots. All these Resbots right here working together to resurrect all these different units from the field, put them back on their field, all contribute a bunch of HP to the front line. And obviously that lends a lot of power. Myself getting back into the game right now, asking for some wind turbines and a metal extractor and whatnot. Stepping back into things as slowly as possible. But now you can see the army is just exponentially scaling, right? As every one of these battles does conclude, as the T3 units continue to fight amongst each other, they leave behind wreckages, and all these can be resurrected. And every time that they're resurrected, the army only grows. The Sheldon here are the equalizer, though. With those Sheldons in play, this becomes super inefficient to deal with. Got some nicely placed vanguards up on the hill. Love those things firing into the distance with their 6 legs that I feel like I still am not quite used to, but they do look quite sick. Their turret's not really active anymore as we move away from the aggression on the front now. Red Army looking dangerous, though. I mean, it's a cobbled together force of zombies, but every one of these units is deadly. Nice move right there from the Red Commander, too. Notice that this front line was getting pushed back, so decided to retreat for a little while. Ooh, Sheldon's way overcommitting at this point. Giant overcommitment from these Sheldons right here as the T3 can now jump on top of all this. All the Sheldon go down, as well as their T3 escort. Not as many T3, I think, in that mix right there for the... Oh, Shuriken, no, all bundled up. I think there's quite a bit more T3 available here for the Red Commander than our Lavender Commander really was expecting. All of a sudden, a giant graveyard available for resurrection. 40,000 metal worth of resurrection available here. Kind of want this angle right there. Yeah, there we go. Now at this point, there's only really 2 things that you can go for. Once this snowball effect has happened, what you know is that the enemy is always going to be going for T3, right? We're always resurrecting T3 and constantly putting those on the field, so that's going to be the bulk majority of the army. So effectively what you need is a thin number of T3 to kill all the spam, and then you want something like sharpshooters. Sharpshooters or starlights, anything super effective against T3, you guard those with your T3. Big old run by over here, by the way. You guard those with your T3 just to keep them safe, and then of course you can fire away with your starlights. Oh, beautiful EMP missiles from the Blue Commander, by the way. Lovely stuff with those connections. Starlights all get paralyzed. Every last one of them goes down. The explosion is immense, and the Razorbacks manage to sweep through this entire push. Oh, I love that. I love the Paralyzer so much. I've been giving this unit, or this structure, so much love recently. Tremendous value. In fact, I think probably the next cast is going to be an EMP Paralyzer mission as well. Sometimes that thing can get ridiculous value. Big Daddy top laner with loads of pulsars available, actually firing away. I mean, yeah, we're going up against Razorbacks, so it makes a lot of sense. Oh, unless they miss. I feel like they should be able to turn their heads, but really, really slightly. It should be like very minimal movement to turn their head and adjust the beam. I bet it probably looks really strange, though. I bet it doesn't work right. Shuriken pulled to deal with all this. Nicely done. Yeah, Shuriken gonna stop all this in their tracks. At the very least, the... Oh, okay. Starlight whiffing on a stationary target. That's odd. Love the Shuriken here. Oh, we actually have abductors coming in. Abductors shot down by the anti-air rapidly, but yeah, I love that there. These pulsars able to fire at these targets, of course, that are static means that they're going to will kill all the Razorbacks pretty easily. Now they can fire away at some of the softer targets, the Starlights. Maybe any bulls or anything like that. Or, of course, just carve through a giant crowd of units. Multi-kill. The overwhelming number of swarm units here does eventually take the foothold for the Orange Commander, though. Tons of T3 all shared over here. You can see this army is effectively doubled. And we've mitosis as we split the army apart, use half of it to defend this Juggernaut that's pushing on this side, as well as the Resbots, of course, resurrecting to reinforce, and we send the other half to go defend the orange side on the map. Mini-B reclaiming from the laboratories and whatnot here. Needs to set up some LLTs or something in order to make sure that this area stays safe. Ooh, Commander taking some hits. Uh-oh. Starlight will go down, luckily for Mini-B. Let's see, my contributions here in the form of a couple of Resbots. Just trying to scavenge off the front lines, enough to make enough metal to get back into this game. Shivas are in play. Karganeth also making their way over here. Resbot's going to be an easy target. Something tells me the teamwork here is the name of the game. Karganeth now bold-facing the Pitbulls. A brave decision, certainly. Ooh. Big Daddy top laner not learning their lesson, though. EMP Paralyzer, boom! Connects with all of those Karganeth. A second missile to reinforce it. And that's 20 seconds of paralyzation right there. Nothing these Karganeth can do. We can even place follow-up missiles easily right here. Of course, once they're stationary targets, it's just too easy. And there we go. I mean, there's an effective almost 10,000 metal down the drain right there. And Karganeth handed over for the low cost of a paralyzer missile, which is like effectively 100 metal. It's why Armada can stay in games a lot longer than it seems like they should be able to. They can do ridiculously efficient things like that and suddenly turn battles around that otherwise should have been effectively unwinnable. Karganeth moving in as well. We do actually have those T2 walls set up, which Karganeth cannot penetrate. Oh. Bulwark whiffing it a little bit. Wow, both Bulwarks whiffing it pretty badly. They will start firing eventually here. Shuriken's flown in at this point. The Karganeth does have anti-air, but for a bajillion Shuriken, it does not matter. The light pulsar beam, and then, of course, the HLTs here to clean all this up, and that'll all go down very, very nicely. Resbot Swarm available here still as well. Juggernaut beam firing the yellow laser of death as Resbots clean up the remaining wreckages. Not the T3, of course, because we want to resurrect those, but the debris fields that have been scattered across the battlefield. Titan emerging from the production center here for the Yellow Commander, giving some callouts. EMP in. Ready for it? 3, 2. And he backs off wisely. There we go. Sometimes you just have to remind your teammates that there's a reason why they can't continue pushing in randomly. Meanwhile, Razorbacks over here are effectively pushing forward. Whole bunch of Resbots to pick all this up. And again, no Resbots to follow this push. We do have a ton in the backline right here that have cleaned up. Wow, I mean, they mopped up the entirety of this front line very nicely. Orange Commander, though, with a giant economy, going to be pushing with the Titans. And the Razorbacks have made it into the back. The Razors are back. I always think of Sexy Back, that old song. I'm bringing razors back. What? No? Okay. I'll retire from singing. Not quite done casting, though. Juggernaut moving in. Of course, firing those ridiculous shotgun cannons it's got welded onto its arms and elbows for some reason. Not sure why about those elbow cannons still, but obviously firing away at any of this front line is going to be valuable. We do also have Shuriken again pulling in here to help out. I do kind of love the continued use of the Shuriken. It's like a very... It's an always viable option, right? Shuriken, they don't really lose value as you move into the mid and late game. They only are able to paralyze bigger and bigger stuff. Oh, Resbot's moving too far forward here. And again, it's not like there's a lot of AoE to deal with these. Vanguard are the only real option. Behemoth here, though, gonna be an issue. Twitcher's sent out to reclaim all this. Resbot's trying their best too as well, of course. Reclaiming from T3 Rex is super efficient. Mammoths may as well be T3 here. Twitcher's doing a great job. Boom goes the Vanguard shot, though, does manage to take out all the Resbots. Okay. Yeah, you can see Lavender guarding this treasure trove greedily. As well they should. Myself, you can see what I've decided to contribute. Build power in the form of air units here. Effectively a much more mobile option for reclaiming. When T3 is out there on the battlefield, oftentimes it leaves behind wreckages that you can't necessarily clean up. But one thing that can almost always get into position is those T1 air cons. Something I've tried to mix in whenever I go into T3 myself is just T1 air cons to reclaim everything. Oftentimes difficult to remember to do that, though. Max is being built up over here, the Red Commander trying to upgrade these all with T2 air constructors, although that's been deconstructed, so I guess we're sending out a T1 land constructor. Fighters being sacrificed here, not sure what for. You can see gunships in the air quite yet. The Grunt Swarm now moving in. Demons also firing forward. Their flames not really... Yeah, they don't really care too much for those walls since there's a gap. They're kind of the perfect unit for that sort of a thing, I suppose. EMP missile launcher not going to fire its payload right here. Maybe we could have connected with some of this here. Abductors also firing their EMP beams. Love the blue team's use of the EMPs. So far this game has been fantastic, but unfortunately not this time. Titan, the only thing left standing here. The Brown Fighter Swarm has also jumped in to try and defend against this. Demons as kind of shock troops, supported by the Juggernaut and the Karganeth here as more of a strategic entourage. An escort, if you will. Starlights grouped up like this always make me nervous. Yep, that chain reaction is brutal. Does not take much to make those chain react. Only 2 or 3 of them need to be standing next to each other. Meanwhile, Titans moving in on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, the Seafoam Green Commander moving Titans in on the left-hand side. Did I say left-hand side? Right-hand side here. For the Orange Commander moving in once more on the right-hand side. Pink Razorbacks finding themselves going up against the Titans is always awkward. Advanced Fusion Reactors in trouble here, though. Oh, trying to kill this guy. Barely manages to take it down. Just 16% left on the Aphis. Titans trying to defend against everything, but the Grunts are swarming forward. Karganeths are overwhelming. Not enough static defenses to repulse all this either. Juggernaut did fall, and Shiva, I guess, cutting off the reinforcements. But boom goes the blue base, chain reacting into the green as well, and also knocking out a giant portion of the Air Force. Tremendous. Titans now taking damage. Karganeth are perfect for blasting out Titans. They're a big, slow target. Karganeths have that tracking, so they're never going to miss. They can whittle them down one by one over time. Meanwhile, these Titans have managed to find a backline base. Shuriken here, shared over from myself and also produced by Watch Me Do This, will be enough to jump on top of these Titans and paralyze them. Important to remember, your units are paralyzable too. All it really takes is a handful of Shuriken to completely shut down a Titan. If you don't have the air coverage, it's a very, very easy way of completely nullifying these. Meanwhile, T3 units moving in. The last remaining Eco Center here for the Blue Commander on the line. The Titan has to stop them, but the Orange Titans are walking right on by. Looks like we've got our eyes set on the Aphis. Boom goes the Aphis and the rest of the base here. And more importantly than all that, the final commander goes down as well. Tucked neatly in between all the Aphis as GG is called. As soon as I saw this comeback story, I knew I absolutely had to
Battle
share it with you. So
ended.
if you enjoyed, of course, feel free to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about me casting my own games. It always feels a bit, you know, show braggy, but, you know, I also have some pretty epic games that I want to bring the very best of Beyond All Reason to you. If you think you have a very good game, though, and you'd like to see it cast, of course, feel free to head on over to the Discord channel, where you can go and submit that under the Replay Submissions tab, and I may just cast yours here next time. Hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, folks, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everyone.